Hi there, EA Tischler here with New Horizons Golf. Today I want to talk to you a little bit more about the process of releasing the club and some of the stereotypes or the conventions that have been taught in the game, over the last 10-15 years. One of the biggest things we've heard is that you want to, coming down, you want to either pull with your left hand and create this angle and hold this angle, create this lag angle as long as you can, or get your body turn in first, body turns from the top, pull with the left arm, hold that angle as long as you can. The idea is that it gives you more lag and you're going to actually lag it longer. Some people even say they want to lag it through the ball. The reality is even the players that look like they have tremendous lag, angles, if you go to the top and you give a Sergio Garcia or somebody that's down in here, if you check a couple of frames before that, they had more angle. Now you come back to that frame, they have less angle. You go down to here, they have even less angle. Right before impact, they have even less angle. And then at impact, they have even less angle. So the reality is these golfers are losing angle all the way down through the ball. Now, they've created enough angle somewhere in their swing that now when they send it and they're releasing it and they're unhinging it, that they're going to get a lot of force. Okay, both Jack Nicklaus and Ben Hogan, I say this all the time, said you can't release it too soon. They actually said they try to release it from the top of the backswing. So we get into a position at the top where we're in a good position, we make a good transition. Once we finish that transition, we're actually trying to send that club head. We're trying to get it to catch up as much as we can. It's not a matter of trying to hold angle and drag that club head all the way through the ball. And a lot of people call it handle dragging now. And Brian Manzella sort of came up with that term, handle dragging. And to me, some people will say, well, I don't handle drag because what they do is they go this way. So they almost feel like if they turn the body and the body pulls the handle, that it's the body pulling the handle that creates the handle dragging. Well, all right, then players that do it with their hands are not really dragging the handle, but they're dragging the club head behind their hands. There's still too much drag. They're not learning to release it and get that club head to catch up as much. So, I want my golfers to feel like they're unhinging it, that they're really smashing it. They're unhinging it as hard as they can or as soon as they can from the top, not necessarily hard. But we're trying to get that club head, instead of trying to drag it past impact, we're actually trying to send it into impact. The club is actually trying to catch up to the hands. And the faster you can get the club head to catch up to the hands, the more speed and the more energy you're going to actually have. So, and you'll see some old-time drills. Some people used to say, especially the people that had a hard time releasing it, they were blocking everything. They actually have them get set up and close their posture down this way, go up to the top, and try to release it through back to the target. That was designed to help them understand what a good release was, how to get that club head releasing sooner instead of trying to drag it through the ball. And I hear comments all the time, people that watch my videos, they talk about the sound of the impact, and my students talk about it all the time. Trust me, I'm not trying to drag the club head through the ball, I'm trying to send it through the ball. So I'm trying to get the good feel of what a good unhinge is. Now once I've unhinged it, as I go through, my body's posturing up. And so I'm posturing up sort of against the throw or against the release. So that's what, in essence, keeps it from flipping or breaking down too soon. However, as I continue to go through in my swing, my right wrist is unhinging. The shaft is actually catching up to my right arm. And if the shaft catches up to my right arm, my left wrist has to be actually breaking back. So although at impact we want a relatively flat left wrist like they talk about conventionally, the reality is it's going from flat to bent. And we have to understand that if we actually keep it flat too long, we actually are creating a blocking action. We're dragging that club head through, we're losing speed, and we're losing the ability to square the club face and release it properly. So instead of trying to keep the back of the left hand flat all the way through impact, I'm trying to get myself to throw the club head through the ball. I still want my hands to be where they started when I'm throwing that club head. In other words, I'm not going to move my hands back here and throw it. If this is where I set up, I want my hands to be returning to their address position as I'm throwing that club head back through the ball. So in a sense, I'm trying to get my hands and the club head to return through the ball at the same time. But after impact, that club head is going to be passing my hands. And that's a true release if I do that. So instead of holding it back, I'm trying to unhinge it and send it through. And there was a lot of smash, a lot of force in that shot there. Yeah, that was a good releasing action, okay? If you catch it a little thin or a little heavy, you don't necessarily blame it on the release, because the body may not have done what it needed to do to perfectly complement that release. In other words, I need to have just the right amount of posturing up as I'm sending it so that I get ball first then the ground. But that was a great smashing release. I'll take that all day long. All right, so again, from the top, I've got levered angle, boom. I'm going to be unhinging this down through the ball. I want to make sure the club head passes my hands on its way through. I'm really trying to get the shaft to catch up to my right arm in a good extended position. Good smashing release. That shaft caught up to my right arm nicely. Now, if you actually look at players like Hogan, this is what he felt like he said he was doing, trying to release it hard from the top. He even said he wished he had 3 right hands on the club. That shaft was catching up to his right arm. And once it hit the full extension, it actually stayed extended with his right arm for a good duration of his swing before, once it got up here, things started to refold. So that's another thing that you can feel. Once you've got a feel of what a good smashing release is, just notice that you want to catch up with your right arm and almost feel like the shaft and the right arm ride up the plane and fall through together just for a little bit. Okay, so good release here. I'm going to feel myself get a good extension and almost ride up the plane a little bit with my right arm in the shaft as I follow through. Played that shot right over the top of my target, long and straight. I'll take that any day.